What's going on, Vikings Nation? If you thought the offseason was going to be quiet for the Minnesota Vikings, think again, because this story just shook the entire NFL. We're talking about our defensive coordinator Brian Flores and a massive legal victory that could change the league forever. Before we dive in, here's the teaser. A federal ruling just pushed Flores' lawsuit out of arbitration and into open court. That means evidence goes public, names get named, and the NFL can't keep this behind closed doors anymore. And trust me, this has major implications not just for Flores, but for the Minnesota Vikings and the future of hiring across the league. So buckle up, Vikings fans, because this isn't just another headline. This is one of the biggest off-field developments tied to the Vikings in years, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why this matters so much. Let's rewind for context. Brian Flores, now defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings, was fired by the Miami Dolphins after the 2021 season. Not long after that dismissal, he filed a lawsuit against the NFL and multiple teams, alleging discriminatory hiring practices. This wasn't a small complaint or a quiet grievance. Flores went directly at the league, challenging the way head coaching interviews and decisions were being handled. He claimed the system was flawed and unfair, especially toward minority candidates. For Vikings fans, this always carried extra weight. We're not just talking about a coach somewhere else in the league. We're talking about a key leader in our building, someone shaping the identity of this Vikings defense every single week. Now here's where things just escalated in a major way. An arbitrator ruled that Flores, along with Steve Wilks and Ray Horton, deserved to have their case heard in open court. That's huge. If the case had stayed in arbitration, much of the evidence and arguments would have remained private. The NFL would have preferred that, because arbitration limits public exposure and transparency. But now, this is moving into the discovery phase. That means both sides will have to share evidence, and it becomes part of the public record. Vikings fans, this just went from quiet legal battle to potential league-altering courtroom showdown. Flores attorneys, Douglas H. Wigdor and David E. Gottlieb, made it clear that this decision protects employees' rights. They argued that having the case decided in a forum influenced by league leadership would strip coaches of fairness under the law. That statement alone tells you how serious this is. The legal team believes the previous setup would not have provided a neutral environment. Now, with open court proceedings, the process becomes transparent. And transparency is exactly what Flores has been demanding from day one. As Vikings fans, whether you agree with every detail or not, you can't deny this is a bold stand. One of the most explosive parts of the original lawsuit involved a text message from Bill Belichick. According to Flores, Belichick mistakenly texted him congratulations for landing the New York Giants job before Flores had even interviewed. The twist? The message was reportedly intended for Brian Daboll. If true, that suggested the Giants' hiring decision may have been made before Flores' interview even took place. That moment became a central piece of the lawsuit. It fueled the claim that certain interviews were conducted to satisfy policy requirements rather than as genuine opportunities. Then earlier reporting from Albert Breer added even more fuel to the fire. A report involving the Jacksonville Jaguars and their head coaching process raised additional questions about how the Rooney Rule was being followed. The Rooney Rule requires teams to interview minority candidates for certain positions. But the report suggested that, in at least one case, interviews may have been structured in a way that prioritized optics over genuine consideration. Now let's be clear. These are allegations and reports, and the court process will determine what holds up. But the fact that this case is heading to open court means those details will be examined under a microscope. For the Minnesota Vikings, this situation is layered. On the field, Brian Flores has been a defensive mastermind, bringing aggression, creativity, and edge to the Vikings scheme. Under Flores, the Vikings defense has shown flashes of dominance, dialing up pressure packages and disguising coverages in ways that keep quarterbacks guessing. His reputation as a defensive mind is unquestioned. But off the field, he's also become one of the most prominent figures in a league-wide debate about fairness and opportunity. That adds a whole different dimension to his role in Minnesota. So what does this mean moving forward? First, this process will take time. Open court cases involving the NFL don't move overnight, and discovery alone can stretch for months. Second, the spotlight on FLORES is going to intensify. Every statement, every development, every court filing will likely become national news. That's pressure even for a seasoned coach. And third, this could reshape how teams, including the Vikings, approach hiring practices in the future. League-wide policies could face serious scrutiny depending on what emerges in court. From a Vikings fan perspective, this creates a complex mix of emotions. You want your defensive coordinator fully focused on football, especially in a competitive NFC landscape. But you also recognize that this case could represent something bigger than wins and losses. It's about the structure of opportunity in the NFL. So I want to hear from you, Vikings Nation. Do you think this lawsuit will impact FLORES' future with the Minnesota Vikings? Do you believe moving to open court changes everything for the NFL? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this is one of those moments where fan voices matter. The Minnesota Vikings are tied directly to one of the most significant legal battles in league history. As this moves into open court, expect updates, revelations, and possibly uncomfortable truths to surface. And you better believe we'll be covering every twist and turn right here in our Noticias dos Minnesota Vikings news. If you're as fired up as I am about what this means for the Vikings and the future of the NFL, make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel for non-stop Minnesota Vikings coverage, and share this video with every member of Vikings Nation you know. We ride together through the highs, the lows, and now even the courtroom drama. Skol, and I'll see you in the next update.